For the last few years, we've had a course called Toxic Waste. And in that course, every month, we have a group that gets together and we talk about the different things that are happening to people at work that they're seeing their teams go through, they're going through, their colleagues are going through, where we treat each other poorly at the office, and then that creates all sorts of dysfunction. And every one of those pieces of dysfunction is its own bottleneck. It's something that slows work down, stops it from being able to happen in a way not only that has smooth flow and low defects, but also that is enjoyable and rewarding and makes us want to do it again. So these toxicities to us are actually more important than any systemic problem that is like, something that's stopping your speed from completion, or that's stopping your cycle time or your throughput or your quality, because these things end up being the root causes for those. We can blame tools or process for them, but usually it is the interactions of people that are causing these problems. So this one we're talking about today is one that we think about as something highly personal. So it's like, I have some self-hostility or imposter syndrome or martyr complex, or I have a hero complex, and I will take on too much work. Everybody sees that I take on too much work, and the next thing I know, I'm the one everybody goes to. So, if you want to get something done, ask a busy person is absolutely an indication that there is a problem, okay? So what we want to talk about here today is this kind of toxic wastes of self-isolationism. So we call this a constellation, and within this constellation, there are 5 toxic wastes that we just talked about. And all of these boil down to one key thing, which is that a person on the team is either being over or undervalued, and in so doing, work isn't flowing smoothly, people aren't being upskilled, people aren't pairing and learning things when they should, we're not having good onboarding. All of these things come out of these problems. Anytime you have isolationism of any kind, it means that information isn't flowing to people and people aren't acting because they are isolated both from other people and from the ability to act. That is what isolationism means. So we're going to use a big word here. The word is toxicokinetics. And so when toxins enter your body reacts to them. So it will immediately try and thwart the nature of the toxin, and then it will try and expel the toxin. And if it can't, sometimes it metabolizes the toxin and makes things even worse. So when you see toxicity at the office, a lot of times we have no ability to expel a toxin, but we have we have no de-escalation skills, but we have a lot of really good escalation skills. Like we will blame an individual for a problem. We will try to use a performance improvement program or plan to solve a problem that is actually systemic and not part of an individual's work. And so this stuff comes in, and we have feelings of self-doubt, and then we metabolize that by creating both learned helplessness, which strangely enough isn't always like I have learned helplessness, therefore I'm not going to act. It could be I have learned helplessness, therefore I can't say no. I have learned helplessness, therefore I'm going to go out and actively search for more work. But whatever it is, it's usually an unhealthy relationship between an individual and the relationship of how they take on and do their work. Another way that this is metabolized is that people take in that work. That work has some complexity that they didn't know about, and then they'll sit there and try and solve that problem alone rather than talking to the team or their bosses or anyone else who could possibly help. When this happens and that overload happens, then it is distributed throughout the organism. So I slow down or I take on too much work. Now other people and other teams are waiting for me. And then as this escalates, we get to what we call peak toxicity. And peak toxicity here is where we have institutionalized actions for this type of behavior. So we'll either like say this team is only responsible for this work and you can only talk to this team through the ticketing system. Completely horrific behavior on an interpersonal scale that is used everywhere because of this type of a problem. Okay, so I'm just going to say that one more time. If you have a ticketing system and you never talk to your stakeholders, that is an anti-pattern, and it's isolating. It's self-isolationism, right? So we want to be able to solve these problems, and the best way to solve these problems is to be able to see them. So we want to build Kanbans, we want to build Obeyas, which are basically rooms filled with stuff that tells people in real time what work is happening, who's doing it, what decisions are being made, what problems are currently in flight, what opportunities are we currently trying to work on, how are we planning, how are we executing, how are we learning. And when we do that, we make the overload visible, we eliminate information starvation, we start to collaborate our way out of siloed and isolated thinking. Because the more information that you feel like you can go get, the more likely you are to talk to the people with that information, regardless of where they are. And at that point, you become a professional. If you go to work and do what somebody else tells you, you are a worker. If you go out and try and do your best job possible and are constantly learning and improving, then you're a professional. Companies should want to hire professionals, not workers. People should want to be professionals and not workers. No class warfare here, just good people trying to get work done. And then we want to celebrate that learning over experience. So that's it. If you guys like these ideas, Tony and I are constantly teaching classes about Obeya. If you go to our Luma page, which there should be a link below, even if the course that you look at now is beyond, just go to the main Luma calendar and we will have other stuff there. But the important thing here is toxicity is something that happens naturally by just how we interact. And the best way to solve that is by being able to see the problems before they become problems and then easily fix them. Don't hurt each other.